Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Gaung Jamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasna Bhutale Shivate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatchadesha Tarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, Chapter 51, verse 46. Lavajano dulabam atramanusham katanchip avyangam ayatnato naga Padaravindam na bhajatya sanmatiya Grihanda kupe patito yatapashu Labva, attaining, jana, a person, durlabham, rarely obtained, atra, in this world, manusham, human form of life, katanchit, somehow or other, avyangam, with undistorted limbs, ayatnataha, without endeavor, Anaga, O sinless one, Pada, your feet, Aravindam, lotus-like, not bhajati, he does not worship, Asat, impure, Mati, mentality, Griha, of home, Anda, blind, Kupe, in the well, Patita, fallen, Yata, as, Pashu, an animal. Translation, that person has an impure mind who, despite having somehow or other automatically obtained the rare and highly evolved human form of life, does not worship your lotus feet. Like an animal that has fallen into a blind well, such a person has fallen into the darkness of a material home. Purport, our real home is in the kingdom of God. Despite our tenacious determination to remain in our material home, death will rudely eject us from the theater of material affairs. To stay at home is not bad, nor is it bad to devote ourselves to our beloved ones. But we must understand that our real home is eternal in the spiritual world, our spiritual kingdom. The word ayatnataha indicates that human life has been automatically awarded to us. We have not constructed our human bodies, and therefore we should not foolishly claim, this body is mine. This human form is a gift of God and should be used to achieve the perfection of God consciousness. One who does not understand this is asannati, possessed of dull, mundane understanding. Translation, that person has an impure mind who, despite having somehow or other automatically obtained the rare and highly evolved human form of life, does not worship your lotus feet. Like an animal that has fallen into a blind well, such a person has fallen into the darkness of a material home. So Muchukunda, he recognizes the Supreme Lord, And he puts himself in the position of a fallen jiva in the material world, covered by ignorance. And he begins to describe the situation of the people of this world bewildered by Maya. And instead of worshiping the Lord, they do something else. So the inspiration for this is the fact that right in front of Muchukunda, the Supreme Lord has appeared. So then he regrets the fact that all the living entities in the material world reject the Lord. And in this particular verse, he's saying that people have attained the human form of life. Jano durlabham manusham. A person has got rare human life, not just human life, but rare human life. Which means that the other forms of life are more prominent. And not everyone gets to get a human body. So in that sense, it's rare. We have, of course, so many species of life, and plants and animals and birds and fish and whatever. Then we got all these bugs and bacteria and so many things. So all varieties of life. And to get human form of life is not so common. Only some of them get to that position of being born as human beings. And there's also a certain process for doing it. It's not haphazard that you can just get any sort of body. There's a whole plan behind getting those bodies, which makes human life also rare. So in other words, the human form of life is like a reward. You get it as a special type of gift because you've done something good. It's not that anyone just gets, any jiva gets a human body like that. They have to do something. They have to earn it somehow or other. It's not chance. So this involves the law of karma. So due to the law of karma, we get a human birth. And if we do all the wrong activities, we don't get human life. Of course, we can ask, well, look, animals don't have karma. They don't commit karma, so how can an animal by karma become a human being? So the answer is, no, the animal does not produce karmas, but human beings produce karmas. So the human being must have been an animal. The animal must have been a human being. Then he produced karmas. Then he became an animal because of that. So he fell from his position as a human being to an animal. And then gradually, through the law of karma, he works his way up, and then he becomes a human being. Then he does more karmas, and then he pushes himself down again into an animal or plant species. Then gradually he works his way up, becomes a human being, and may do more karmas and put himself in animal or plant species or whatever again. So the all species have karmas attached to them, but they don't produce karma. So they get karmas attached to them. How many karmas? So it is said it is uncountable. You cannot count the number of karmas that any particular jiva has, animal, plant, human being. Why would they have so many? And some of them are for this lifetime, some for next lifetime, some for next life. Even if we don't have any karmas in this lifetime, we have piles and piles, infinite karmas from the past, and some will get finished in this lifetime. But still, the rest are there, and then we have another lifetime, and we get rid of a few karmas, and then another lifetime. But meanwhile, we're creating new karmas again in each lifetime because we do activities. So we can never cancel out our karmas by simply living. We can cancel out some karmas, definitely, but we keep producing more karmas again. So that is why every jiva has a pile of karmas that he cannot exhaust ever. And it becomes impossible to get out of the material world because of that. Because they're always producing new karmas, and in our next lifetime we cannot use up all the karmas. So because of that, we produce the karmas as human beings. And then we may drop down to an animal species, and then a little bit of karma is taken off in one animal species, then another animal species, a little more karma, and then we get to humans, and we produce a lot more karmas again, more than all the animal species we've been through. It's an endless cycle, and we can never get rid of it, the karmas. And one of the reasons, of course, is that sometimes one action will generate many lifetimes of karma. In other words, you kill a cow, and then you have a lot of karmas to expel by that in many lifetimes. You can't, for a serious crime, you cannot in one lifetime cancel it out. You may have to go for many lifetimes to cancel out one karma. So this we've got tons of invisible karmas. That's called the aparabdha karmas. A small amount of that you burn up in this lifetime. That's called the prarabdha karmas. But meanwhile, we're creating new karmas again. That's called the kriyamana karmas. Karmas produced in this lifetime. And they'll be experienced, they become aparabdha or prarabdha in other lifetimes in the future. So by this method, at a certain point, we become a human being from an animal species, and we may progress upwards and then become a human being. And then we do more activities, and then we push ourselves into another body again. So the human life has a disadvantage, but because this is where we create all of our karmas. In fact, it's called karma bhumi. That is Earth planet. It's called karma bhumi because this is where the human beings are, and they create all their karmas. But we go on creating karmas, and simultaneously we exhaust a few karmas. So it's a rare chance. Why is it rare? Because, of course, we don't get it very often. But it also indicates that there's some advantage to it. Just like a rare mineral. Why it's rare? Because it's not very common. But then there must be something. Usually, a rare thing is very, very expensive. So why is it expensive? Because it has a certain use, a very valuable use to it. So human life is not only rare to get, but it also is very valuable because we can do something that we cannot do in other species of life. And what is that? We have higher intelligence. So we can begin to be aware of what we're doing, and we can set goals for ourselves, etc. We have so much intelligence. But if we use the intelligence in the wrong way, we simply create more karmas for ourselves. That's all we do. We bind ourselves to the material world. So the real advantage of human life is it offers a possibility of getting out of all the karmas. In spite of the fact that this unlimited karmas, there is a method of getting out of those karmas. But difficult. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Impossible to get out of the material world. Impossible to get out of Maya. Impossible to destroy all your unlimited past karmas. Very, very difficult thing to do. So it looks impossible, it's almost impossible, but there is a method. But to learn that method, we have to be very intelligent. And that means we also have to go to the scriptures. If we're not intelligent enough, we won't go to the scriptures. So a certain type of intelligence is needed by which we will accept the scriptures. And we'll follow the methods given in the scriptures. Of course, even if we have scriptures, we have to be intelligent enough to get the right meaning out of the scriptures, the conclusion of the scriptures. If we take the scriptures and get the wrong meaning, again, we end up with nothing. So there is a chance to do something with the human life and stop the process of birth and death and destroy all the karmas, but it's rather difficult to do. So the scriptures are there to help us, and certain people take to the scriptures, other people don't. So generally, those who accept the scriptures are astikas, they're called astika. And astika is a quality of sattva, Brahmins. Brahmins, they will accept the authority of scripture. But then how many Brahmins are there compared to Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Sudras in the human? Very few. Very few people in sattva, and most people in tamagun, and mixtures in rajagun, tamagun, etc. So very few people in sattva gun. So again, people that accept the scripture is very, very rare. So Krishna says, of course, millions of people, hardly one knows me, whatever like that. So because very few people will accept the scriptures, very few people in sattva gun. To help the process, of course, Krishna produces the varnashram system, and he puts manus in the material world to make that system work. The kings, coming from Manu. Starting with Swayambhuva Manu, first part of the day of Brahma is ruled by Swayambhuva Manu. So he starts a lineage of kings to establish a varnashram system, and this helps people raise their consciousness from tamagun to rajagun to sattvagun. So in this way, it becomes less rare, we can say, because if you follow that system, you don't go to lower species, you go upwards as a human being. And of course, you can also be a devata. You do the karma kanda, and you can become a devata and be very sattvic there. So basically, it's a process of elevating a person, a jiva, to sattva in the material world. It doesn't get him out of the material world, but it elevates him at least to sattva over a long period of time. So that is why this system is recommended for people in general to raise their consciousness upward. Once they get to sattva, of course, then sattva means they accept the scripture very nicely, they begin to understand it, and they're very detached from things in the material world, so they take to the process of jnana. And they read Upanishads, etc. And they go for liberation from the material world. So this is a possible way in which one can get out of the material world. Of course, sattva itself is designed by the Supreme Lord so that within the material world we have an escape hole. Now, most of we think of Maya as ignorance, avidya. True, but within Maya is also vidya. Knowledge is also there. And that is not just material knowledge, it means knowledge that we're not the body, we're the soul, etc. So that arises in sattva. If you come to sattva gun, then you can realize, oh, I'm not the body, I'm Atma, I'm something beyond the material world. So that's the escape hole within Maya itself to get out. So in sattva gun, one begins to pursue jnana and go for liberation from the material world. So that's an arrangement of the Supreme Lord for the jivas to get out of this position. So anyway, the human life very rare, and then we have to take advantage of it. So one, of course, is that we can follow the varnashram system. If we're lucky to have a king descending from Manu, then we can follow that system. If we follow varnashram system not coming from Manu, it may be the opposite. It may be Asuric varnashram. Some Asura in charge, and he has a varnashram system, and then we're pointless. We don't get liberation. We get to enjoy in the material world, like Hiranyakasipu. In one sense, yes, he very orderly, etc. But it's all dedicated to sense gratification. So it becomes Asuric. If we have that good fortune, then we can work within the varnashram system and gradually get to sattva, which is the Brahmins are less than the others, so it's rare in that sense also. So here in this verse, Mochukunda says that, well, human life is rare, but if we don't worship the lotus feet of the Lord, then it's like the animal falling in the blind well. In other words, we simply become bound up. So we have two choices: worship the Lord or not worship the Lord. If we don't worship the Lord, then we get further bound up in the material world, and we don't get out of the material world. So the the andakupa, blind well, doesn't mean the well cannot see. It doesn't mean that. It means we can't see the well. And then we fall into it. Andakupa. It's a well, but you don't know it's a well, and you walk over it and you fall into it. Then you're trapped. So the well is such that it's so deep that once you get in, you can't get out. You can't climb out. So what happens? You sit there and you die. You're trapped. So of course, we don't expect a human being to fall in, but animal doesn't know, so not so clever. So animal just walks, falls into the well, and then cannot get out. It's trapped. So animal is less intelligent. Human beings should be more intelligent, so they shouldn't fall into the well. But yet, you're saying that the human being becomes like an animal, and he falls into the well. So he doesn't use his intelligence. So it says here, asatmati. Asanmati. Asan means asat. Asat means foolish. Or intelligence which doesn't exist. We can say even asat, non-existent intelligence. Zero intelligence. So, in other words, human beings should have enough intelligence, at least to follow varnashram system, whatever. If they don't have that, then they end up with this no intelligence at all. And then they just create karma for themselves, and they may fall into the lower species of life as a result of this. Because they have intelligence of an animal, therefore they deserve to be an animal. If they want to take responsibility for their activities, let them be an animal. Then an animal, they don't get any karma. They can run around and bark and bite and do whatever they want and eat anything. And no karma. No karma. If we do that as a human being, then less intelligent, therefore we become an animal. Or even worse, a plant or whatever. Therefore, one advantage of the human being is intelligence. The difficulty is that with that intelligence, then he has to choose what to do. Worship the Lord or not worship the Lord. So, if he worships the Lord, fine. If he doesn't worship the Lord, why he doesn't worship the Lord? Because of Maya. He wants to enjoy in the material world. This is the tendency of majority of people. So though the human life is very rare, most of the human beings waste the life. They make the wrong choice. And they go for enjoyment in the material world. So this is a lamentable position, which is here described. It's like the animal falling into the blind well. A waste of the human form of life. We have to make a choice, but most people say, it's difficult to make a choice like this. What do you expect us to do? But that is the situation of the human being. He has to take responsibility for his choices. Animal doesn't. And it's by his instincts he'll choose one thing or another. Human being has to use his intelligence to choose what is the proper thing to do. So it's difficult for the human being to do that in most cases, but that's the whole arrangement that the Lord makes. That's kind of a test. So to help out, the Lord gives us some advantage. First of all, he gives a varnashram system. So if you're in the lower modes, you don't have to think too much because you're not intelligent, less intelligent. That's the Sudra. So you don't have to think too much. The system is arranged so that everything is set up for you. You don't make choices. Other people make the choices for you. You don't have money, so you can't choose how to spend the money. But everything is taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry. So that's the advantage of such a system. Unfortunately, if we don't have that system, then it's very, very unpredictable what's going to happen to all the people. Very, very difficult to predict. Still, the Lord makes arrangement for that also. So what's the arrangement there? Bhakti. The Jnana and Yoga actually depend on the Varnashram system because they depend on Sattva Gun. And to get a Sattva Gun, you have to go to the Varnashram system. But Bhakti doesn't depend on the gunas at all. It doesn't depend on the Varnashram system. So if we don't have a Varnashram system, then all we can do is Bhakti. We don't have any choice. But so this is what the Lord does. He gives us that choice of Bhakti where there is no Varnashram system. If there's a Varnashram, well, you can participate and gradually elevate yourself. Of course, even there, you can also choose Bhakti, no problem. But if no Varnashram system, we don't have a choice anymore. We have to do the Bhakti. No other way. You cannot do Jnana because you don't have the Sattva to do that. So this is the arrangement of the Lord. How does he arrange for this? Of course, the Lord himself comes and inspires everybody, and he gives teachings, scriptures, and whatever. And then the devotees of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord spread the process of bhakti and give mercy to people. So ultimately, of course, bhakti does require qualification also, and Krishna says, yes, there are thousands of people, hardly one knows me. And that is because, of course, bhakti itself requires some qualification as well. Shraddha, faith. So that faith, of course, has an advantage in that it does not depend on the gunas at all. It depends on mercy, mercy of devotees. So if the devotees are very merciful, then we can have people develop faith, and then they can practice bhakti. So then it becomes not so rare. Once they practice bhakti, then to get prema, that is rare. There's another rarity there. Everyone practices bhakti, but who gets prema? Very, very rare. They get prema. So we have to follow the system, just like brahmanas are rare because it's sattva. So among devotees, to get Krishna, you have to get prema, and prema is rare. But if one follows the system, then it is not so rare. So that is the quality of bhava. It is sudurlabha, but not sudurlabha for not very rare. For those who practice the devotional process properly, then it becomes okay. But if you practice jnana, karma, whatever, then very, very rare. So if we practice bhakti properly, then we get to bhava, we get to prema, we realize the Lord. Therefore, when we have faith, then we choose to worship the Lord. That's pararavindam bhajati. We worship the Lord. We don't refuse to worship. We worship the Lord. Which means that faith gives us the proper intelligence to make the choice, and we choose to worship the Lord. Then we begin the process of bhakti. So in this way, we are no longer in the andakupa, where we're out of the position of being trapped in the dark well of human misery in the material world. So what bhakti does is, it detaches us from all that enjoyment, and it does so not through the process of vairagya, as is done with jnana and karma, or jnana and yoga. They have to practice detachment. So the practice of bhakti, the detachment process, is called natural detachment, sahaj vairagya. And what is that? The process of bhakti attaches us to Krishna. So the more we're attached to Krishna, the less we're attached to material things. So we have prema, 100% attachment to Krishna. And we're nishta, maybe 50% attached to Krishna. So as we progress in bhakti, naturally, by attachment to Krishna, the attachment to material energy and enjoyment diminishes and diminishes until it becomes zero. So bhakti itself saves us from the blind well of material existence. Though it is not its goal, it actually happens automatically through becoming attached to Krishna. So we'll begin by worshiping the Lord, and the goal is to worship the Lord. Same thing. What is the difference? Only that it's 100% worship of the Lord with no attraction to Maya in prema. And at the beginning, it may be 1% attachment to Krishna with a lot of 99% attraction to Maya. And that's the beginning stage. But nevertheless, it's worship of the Lord, and the Lord accepts it. But through the process of sadhana, gradually, the attraction for Krishna becomes more, and the attraction for Maya less, until we get 100% for Supreme Lord. So this process of bhakti is applicable in all cases, whether there is a varnashram system or no varnashram system. And that's why it's recommended as the process in Kali Yuga.
Etc. When they see the Lord face to face, their prayers become more intense. Even here, if Muchukunda is able to, is it because of the Lord's mercy being granted, or they already have the realization?
Well, of course, they're all special persons to begin with. Though Dhruva came in a line of Swayambhuva Manu to begin with, so that gave him some advantage. And here Muchukunda also was he was a devotee of the Lord, and was Narada or Gargya. He predicted he would see the Lord, so he had qualification at least. But definitely, if we get to see the Lord, it means we're at a very high level, and no more ignorance, and the bhakti is strongly developed. So then naturally, the devotee will be able to express his attraction to the Lord and the wonderful qualities of the Lord without any problem. Of course, in the case of Dhruva, he was a little boy, and when the Lord touched him on the head with his conch shell, then he got the ability to speak nicely. So we can say that's his mercy. Contact with the Lord purified him to the extent, not only purified him, but infused him with devotion, so he became very eloquent. So we have that prayer. Even by the mercy of Guru, even a blind man can see, and a lame man can cross over a mountain, and a person who cannot speak becomes very eloquent. So it requires mercy in one sense. As a devotee develops, we see he gets subhada, second quality of bhakti, subhada, good qualities manifest in the devotee. So these are spiritual qualities. So, of course, in sadhana, a little bit of develops. If we get to prema, then the qualities are very extraordinary that manifest in the jiva. And so one of those qualities will be his great intelligence and his great ability to express himself, etc. These automatically manifest in the jiva when he's in prema.
So what else can you say, until one destroy the karma or come out from the karma, it's not possible for the living entities to come out from this material world?
Under normal circumstances, very difficult. But if we follow processes, we can do it. So jnana, you can go out. Yoga, you can get out of the material world, but it's very, very difficult, but you can do it. And then bhakti becomes easier. So these are the three processes that allow you to get out of the material world.
But those who follow the jnana, normally they destroy the aprarabdha karma, but prarabdha karma remain.
Yeah, so they get their liberation when they leave the material body.
But if some or other they fall down, this again prarabdha karma go with them? Some or other this jnana fall down. And
So it's explained that they again, if they do not worship the Supreme Lord, they fall from their position. They think they're liberated, they're not. So that's a person in the material world who is almost liberated. He's destroyed most of his karmas, etc. He doesn't worship the Lord. So what happens? He doesn't get liberated. He doesn't get all of his karmas destroyed ultimately. And then he comes back to the material world with more karma, and he starts doing activities again or whatever. Because he doesn't worship those. So in other words, the Supreme Lord is the one who gives the liberation. He destroys all your karmas and allows you to get liberation. If you don't worship the Lord, you don't get his mercy, you don't worship him, then you can't get to that stage of complete destruction of your karmas. So the mercy of the Lord is involved in destruction of your karmas also.
what about this? You are explaining the kriyamana karma. Means that
what we're doing now will
that,
create karma for the future.
Yeah. So suppose the kriyamana karma give result for the future or next or this lifetime we get the result,
Huh?
The result of kriyamana karma we get sometime in this lifetime, sometime next lifetime also we get it.
Well, generally the word karma refers, or daiva refers to doing things now, getting it in a future lifetime. Now, in this lifetime, of course, we can get results. We do get results from our activities. Just like we work, we get money or whatever like that. That's just a natural result of your activity. Activity itself gives some sort of good or bad result. And you work hard, you get more money. You work less, you get less money. So that we don't technically call daiva or karma in that sense. We get results from our activity. And if we do a lot of bad activities, then of course we suffer in this lifetime also. Some of them may just be physical, because if you do sinful activities, then you destroy your material body and you suffer in this lifetime also.
So it acts both ways, sometime in this lifetime, sometime next lifetime.
Yeah, well, we definitely, when we do activities, we get results in this lifetime, because it's the nature of activity that gives results.
That means we can say this kriyamana karma sometimes create aprarabdha karma, sometimes create prarabdha karma also. Kriyamana karma.
Well, what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing now is, we can say it creates our future lifetimes. But the action itself now gives results now, but we don't call that karma usually.
Then karma, then what do we call it?
It's just the natural results. You work hard, you get money. That's not, if you don't work hard, you don't get money. So that's not karma. It's just the natural result of activities in this world. That's all.
Daiva, you can say?
No.
Daiva?
No.
But sometimes, we work.
We refer to the daiva as that which continues beyond this lifetime and goes into another, which we can't even see the connection, but it nevertheless gives results. We do an activity now, we get a result sometime in some future life. We don't even know how it happens, but it happens.
Sometimes we work, but we don't get result according to our expectation. So then how do we call it? It's because
Well, one may be due to karmas. We're not allowed to get more money because of certain activities we did in the past. But if we work hard, very hard, we may get some money. If we don't work at all, of course, we don't get any money. So that's this natural result of what I say, activity in this lifetime. If you don't do activity, you don't get a result. You do activity, you get some result, but maybe not as much as you want because of the law of karma or whatever.
Maharaj, we see that Prahlad Maharaj faced many obstacles, and Pandavas also faced many obstacles.
Yeah,
And,
that's not karma.
and
It's the arrangement of the Lord.
okay. So, and Prabhupada also faced many obstacles to establish the Juhu temple. So, how can you understand this is Maya or Krishna's?
Yeah. Well, in the material world, obviously, when it's not Krishna's Leela, and there will be obstacles for everyone, even devotees or whatever. It's material energy. Still, we should understand that, of course, even chanting the holy name once accidentally, like an ajamil, destroys all your karmas. So, though the karmas are destroyed, even for ajamil, it looked like he did have karma, because he was continuing to live with the prostitute and he had attachment to his children and so many things. It looked like he had karmas. So the answer is, well, how did his karmas get destroyed? The answer is that a pattern of karma remains. It looks like karma remains, even if the karma is all destroyed. So therefore, everyone in the material world, even a prem bhakta, will appear to undergo karmas. There will be a pattern that the Lord preserves, and even for a very advanced devotee. And then it appears they suffer this or they suffer that. But ultimately, it's not under the law of karma, it's under the Supreme Lord's control at that point.